Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. It's clear that the relationship between Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors is on the rocks, and that the player will be traded very soon. Nikola Vucevic has been a long-time target of the Warriors, and this is the ideal time to make this trade. The Lakers would have another great center to alternate with Al Horford. The Golden State Warriors ended their stalemate with Jonathan Kuminga at the end of September. However, there are persistent rumors that Kuminga will be available for trade once he becomes eligible on January 15, 2026. Bleacher Report's Andy Bailey proposed a trade idea for the Warriors involving the 23-year-old forward. The deal gives Golden State an additional big man in the form of two-time NBA All-Star Nikola Vucevic. Warriors receive Nikola Vucevic and a lottery-protected 2031 first-round pick. Bulls receive Jonathan Kuminga. Jake Fisher of the Stein Line reported on October 5 that the expectation around the NBA is the Warriors will look to trade Kuminga once he's eligible. Some of the teams interested in Kuminga are the Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings and Chicago Bulls. Why would the Warriors do it? Andy Bailey knew that the Golden State Warriors already added Al Horford this offseason, but the team remains undersized. Horford is not a tall center, while Quinton Post is a stretch 5 and Tracy Jackson-Davis is only listed as 6'9". Adding a player like Nikola Vucevic gives the Warriors additional size. Vucevic can play alongside Horford or Draymond Green while also giving Golden State a new dimension on offense. He's a post player who could also knock down three-point shots. The Golden State Warriors may have added Al Horford this offseason, but they're still one of the smallest teams in the league. And the Chicago Bulls have a veteran center who could supercharge their second unit. Nikola Vucevic is a floor spacer and ball mover whose offensive game would fit right into the Warriors system, Bailey wrote. Even though he's not a defensive center, Horford and Green can help him on that end of the floor. Vucevic is entering the final year of his contract and will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Even if the Montenegrin center leaves in free agency, the 2031 first-round pick alleviates the loss. It might be protected, but it's still an asset that could be used in the next few years. Why would the Bulls do it? Steve Kerr told Tim Kawakami of the San Francisco Standard that he has plans to use Jonathan Kuminga this upcoming season. However, Kerr's history with Kuminga is too much to ignore. He likely fits better in a new environment like in Chicago, where he could be a perfect long-term partner for Josh Giddey. Fans may wince at the idea of giving up a first-rounder for Jonathan Kuminga, but his athleticism and physical profile are still intriguing, especially if, in a bigger role and with consistent opportunities set up by Josh Giddey, he could thrive, Andy Bailey wrote. With the Bulls already among the interested teams in Kuminga, it appears to be a match made in heaven. The franchise has also been trying to trade Vucevic for the past 2 seasons now, but they can't seem to find the right package or players to get. In addition to Vucevic, the Bulls are reportedly shopping forward Patrick Williams as well, as per Ashish Mathur of On Fire Digital. Warriors already have an obvious roster move to make after 2 preseason games. The kid can shoot it. The Golden State Warriors might only be 2 games into their preseason campaign and still nearly 2 weeks from their regular season opener, but an obvious roster move is already emerging following Wednesday night's victory over the Portland Trail Blazers. The 129-123 win came on the back of an incredible 51-26 fourth quarter for the Warriors, with undrafted guard L.J. Cryer playing a key role with 14 points in the final period on 4 of 5 shooting from the floor and a perfect 3 of 3 from three-point range. Warriors should put L.J. Cryer on a 2-way contract over Jackson Rowe. Cryer's shot-making was notable during Golden State's fourth-quarter outburst, including having dribbled into a confident-looking go-ahead three-pointer in the final minutes. After going 0 of 6 shooting from the floor against the Los Angeles Lakers on Sunday, Cryer clearly shook away the nerves to emerge as one of the major storylines alongside fellow youngsters Quinton Post and Will Richard. Cryer's production came in stark contrast to that of current two-way contracted forward Jackson Rowe, with the Canadian recording just 2 points, a rebound and 2 turnovers in his 7 minutes. Given Rowe will be 29 years old in January, it makes sense for the Warriors to give his two-way contract to Cryer as a younger prospect with a clearly higher upside. I'm all about winning. I've won everywhere I've been. At this level, I want to continue to make that what I'm about. I know it's preseason, but I'm shooting it like it's a real game, Cryer told Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle after the game. The Warriors signed Cryer to a non-guaranteed contract after the 6'1" went undrafted at June's NBA draft. He spent 5 years of college at Baylor and more recently Houston, where he helped the Cougars to the NCAA championship game earlier in the year where they lost to Will Richards' Florida Gators. If you think Cryer's hot shooting in the fourth was a flash in the pan, think again. The 24-year-old averaged 15.7 points for the Cougars last season on 42.4% from three-point range, 7.3 attempts per game, while shooting a scorching 41.3% from deep across his 5-year collegiate career. He also shot 42.1% from beyond the arc during his 4 games for Golden State during Summer League in July. While Cryer is expected to spend plenty of time in the G League with Santa Cruz either way, it might benefit the Warriors to get him on a two-way contract sooner rather than later. Warriors already have a Quinton Post problem despite fourth-quarter heroics. Can they maximize his shooting strength? Quinton Post was the hero for the Golden State Warriors in Wednesday's comeback preseason victory over the Portland Trail Blazers, having gone for 15 of his team-high 20 points in the fourth after the hosts had entered the period with a 19-point deficit. Post's three-point shooting and in particular his pick-and-pop ability was on full display in the 129-123 victory, but it also presents a problem for Steve Kerr and the coaching staff given the very real limitations that surround other aspects of his game. Steve Kerr has to strike a balance with Quinton Post's minutes. Post has already emerged as one of the best 7-foot shooters in the entire league, having shot a team-high 40.8% from beyond the arc in his rookie season. The 25-year-old went 4 of 9, 44.4%, from beyond the arc against the Trailblazers, including 3 of 4 in the fourth as part of Golden State's 51-point outburst. Post's three-point shooting is clearly a weapon that Kerr has to utilize especially throughout a long regular season, yet he must also strike a balance with the amount of minutes the young big man gets until he proves himself consistently capable on the defensive side of the ball. Post had just 4 rebounds in his 25 minutes, with the Trailblazers beating the Warriors up on the glass with a 23-9 differential in offensive rebounds including 6-3 in the final period. That's now 7 boards in nearly 41 minutes for Post across 2 preseason games, with the coaching staff undoubtedly wanting more from their 7-footer in that element. Post has shown some glimpses of improved rim protection throughout the first 2 games, but not at a level where you'd consider him to be a plus defender by any means. That's going to be at the heart of the issue for Kerr. How does he maximize Post's shooting while ensuring he's not a liability on the defensive end? Fortunately, Golden State haven't reached a point where they're going to be relying on Post for 25 to 30 minutes per game, at least not in games where Al Horford and Draymond Green are available. It would still be nice for the former 52nd overall pick to improve defensively to the mark where that's a legitimate option for Kerr though if required. There's no doubt that Wednesday's outing was ultimately a positive one for Post given his fourth quarter, but it still leaves genuine question marks on what exactly his role will look like in a full-strength rotation entering the season. Brandon Podziemski wants to take Warriors championship baton from Stephen Curry. The Golden State Warriors are less than 2 weeks away from kicking off their 2025-26 season with a road game against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Warriors have far and away the oldest roster in the NBA, with 4 out of their 5 starters being age 35 or older, including Stephen Curry, who will turn 38 years old this season. The Warriors have been attempting to establish something of a young core while still competing for championships with their veterans, but thus far, those attempts have failed, with the Jordan Poole experiment crashing and burning and Klay Thompson reportedly feeling alienated by Steve Kerr's usage of younger players over him, resulting in him skipping town last year. Still, Warriors rising third-year player Brandon Podziemski is confident that he will earn the keys to the franchise one day. When they leave this thing, they got to leave it with somebody, Podziemski said, per Nick Friedel of The Athletic. How can I have their trust? And they can go to owner Joe Lacob and general manager Mike Dunleavy and be like, hey, we want to leave it with him. He's going to continue what we're leaving. So, I think about that all time, and I set myself up in that position to have that. And there's a lot of other things than just skill that you need to be in that position. A bold claim from Brandon Podziemski. Brandon Podziemski has had a solid career so far for the Warriors, turning himself into one of the better rookies of his class despite being a later first-round draft pick. Still, his play so far doesn't necessarily have future star written on it, so it will be interesting to see what steps he is able to take with his game this year. Podziemski is one of the few Warriors young players that has Kerr's trust for rotational minutes, so he'll likely get a big opportunity to show off his game this year. The Warriors season is set to begin on October 21st in Los Angeles. Warriors officially cut ties with 6'8" former lottery pick after 14 games. Although training camp has already begun for every NBA franchise, it isn't too late to sign assets looking for a fresh start. On Wednesday, a former Golden State Warriors forward who was a lottery selection 7 years ago signed with a new franchise after getting no love from the Dubs in free agency. The Chicago Bulls and Kevin Knox have agreed to a deal, Hoops Hype's Michael Scotto reported on X/Twitter. Knox has averaged 7.3 points in 7 NBA seasons combined with the Knicks, Atlanta Hawks, Detroit Pistons, Portland Trail Blazers, and Warriors. Knox was supposed to be the future of the Knicks organization. The Kentucky product convinced New York to draft him with the number 9 overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft, and it honestly didn't come as a surprise. Knox played at a steady pace and flaunted his big-time shot-making chops with the Wildcats all year long, allowing him to move up the draft boards rapidly. For whatever reason, though, Knox failed to put it all together in New York, which led to a 2022 split. The Knicks traded him to the Atlanta Hawks. The former McDonald's All-American proceeded to make a few more stops before signing 2 10-day contracts and one end-of-season deal with the Warriors in 2025. Knox was only a 3.3 points per game scorer in 14 contests, significantly lowering his chances of signing a new deal with the championship-seeking organization in the offseason. Unfortunately, the Warriors officially moved on from Knox ahead of training camp, as they made several moves to round out that roster that didn't involve the 26-year-old. Knox is too talented a player to serve as a journeyman in his mid-20s, which should create optimism that he can swiftly turn things around in the best professional basketball league in existence. Warriors might have already unearthed their latest gem during preseason. This could be a major steal. The Golden State Warriors produced a stunning 51-26 fourth quarter against the Portland Trail Blazers on Wednesday night, allowing them to overcome a 21-point deficit to claim a 129-123 victory at Chase Center. At the heart of the comeback was rookie guard Will Richard, with the 56th overall pick impressing again as he quickly emerges as the latest gem that the Warriors may have unearthed late in the second round of the draft. Will Richard might be the Warriors' latest draft steal. While his numbers 11.5 points, 4.3 rebounds, 1.5 assists and 1.8 steals didn't necessarily blow people away at Summer League, Richard was clearly the biggest positive from an otherwise underwhelming team display at the California Classic and in Las Vegas. The 22-year-old has continued on from that impression, showing strong signs of his defensive capability during Sunday's win over the Los Angeles Lakers. More of that was on display against the Trail Blazers, but this time the offense came with it in recording 9 points in his nearly 17 minutes. Richard made 2 of his 3 field goal attempts, yet crucially got to the free throw line on 6 occasions, making 5, which helped give the Warriors as much time as possible to execute the remarkable comeback. Richard's 9 points went with 2 rebounds, 2 assists and a steal, while he also finished as a plus 21 in his minutes, ranked second of Golden State players behind L.J. Cryer's plus 25, all in the fourth quarter. In fairness, all of Richard's minutes have come in garbage time against lesser opposition over the first 2 games. He has impressed enough though to question whether or not he should get further opportunity across the remaining preseason games, particularly over a similar type player like Gary Payton II. Neither are likely to get rotation minutes once DeAnthony Melton returns from his ACL injury, but there could be an opportunity over the next month until that happens. Either way, Richard already looks like a potential steal late in the second round, particularly given the Warriors executed a pair of trades to actually get access to him at that selection. While we haven't seen 52nd overall pick Alex Tui in preseason to date, Mike Dunleavy Jr. is clearly building quite a reputation when it comes to identifying talent late in the draft. Quinton Post, Golden State's 52nd pick in 2024, led Wednesday's comeback with 15 fourth-quarter points and a team-high 20 for the game, while the franchise still retains hope in Tracy Jackson-Davis, the 57th overall pick of 2023, despite more limited minutes in the last 12 months. Richard could be the most recent of these surprising players to emerge from a pick in the 50s, particularly given the Warriors have already shown faith by placing him on the main roster and giving him a 4-year contract, 2 years guaranteed, before even playing a game.